What's up, guys, and welcome back to the DualSense podcast. This is episode 95. I am one of your co-hosts, Jason, and I'm joined, as always, this evening by your other co-host whose name is intelligible to me, at least this evening on Zencaster, so we're just going to call him by his given name, Travis. Travis, what's going on tonight?
I was trying to spell Elon Musk's kid's name.
I feel like you needed to have like a dot and like a number in there somewhere or some shit.
Hey, have you been following the Johnny Depp trial?
No, the only thing that I'm aware of is the video that I sent you guys from the Reddit clip, which was hilarious.
Right. Yeah, the guy keeps interrupting him. He's like, okay, guy.
Yeah.
Apparently today, I haven't watched the video yet, but apparently Amber Heard shit in the bed.
Oh.
So that's fun.
Quaaludes will do that to you, won't they?
Right. It doesn't make any sense to me. But anyway, I mean, that's exciting, right? I got to be honest. I was on the fence about if she was hot or not anyway, but now she's definitely not hot.
Fair. Yeah, I don't even, to be honest with you, I know the name. Okay, I know that she's a female, but I don't know what she looks like in my head. So that means she's probably unremarkable.
Yeah, it's like a girl next door, but slightly hotter, but also like a young Karen.
I don't know,
like
you can just see it.
Yeah, you can just see it in her mouth.
She's got that Karen mouth.
Yeah. Anyway,
I see. Well, I took the dogs out before we started recording here, and much to my surprise, when I stepped outside, it sounded like I had walked into the stadium with the Mexican national soccer team. I live right in front of a sports complex here in town that, ironically enough, I used to manage, and you used to work at as well. Anyway, it sounded like when you're flipping through channels on TV and you accidentally get on ESPN Deportes or Univision and they have like a Mexican Liga soccer game on, and it's just like, go, like literally, dude was rolling his R's like he was shooting an Uzi. It was fantastic.
Yeah,
it was really fantastic.
You could hear the roar. You could hear the vuvuzelas.
Yeah, it was something else. So I don't know what's going on, but so it's getting a little bit late to be doing that shit. My Clint Eastwood get off my lawn's about to come out of me, but
yeah, why don't you call the mayor?
Maybe I will. Anyway, Travis, we are a weekly podcast where you and I get together and we discuss all of the week's news, rumors, new game releases, and much more in the world of PlayStation. We do it all in under 90 minutes, and we post new episodes every Monday on all of the usual podcast services, as well as the YouTube, where we also share gameplay videos and highlights and some funny series of gameplay videos. So check that out there if you're interested in that. Also, we would love to hear from you on social media, of course. Our mainstay is Twitter, and you can find us at the DualSense Pod. But we're also on Instagram, where we share virtual photography from our time in game. And then we also have a Facebook page and a blog, which is the DualSensePodcast.wordpress.com. So you can pick your poison there, and we would love to hear from you and talk about PlayStation, or tell us about the show, what you think of it, what you like, and maybe what you don't like. Yeah, we'd love to hear that as well. And I do want to give just a little recognition or shout out before we move on to the news here, Travis. We've been doing pretty well lately. We've had a good amount of listenership. Our YouTube channel is doing pretty well with not only our episodes, but also our gameplay that we've been posting. And people seem to be finding it and liking it, I guess. And shout out to the Unlockables podcast and Eric. He sent me a message and he had been listening. I think it was Eric. It could have been, it may not have been him, but he had been listening to the show, and he just sent a message that said he really enjoyed it and it was easy to listen to. So we appreciate that. Anyway, without further ado, let's jump into the news here, starting with number one. While we know that PlayStation developer Naughty Dog is hard at work on their multiplayer live service, The Last of Us project, we now have a clearer picture of what else the studio is working on thanks to Robert Morrison, not the college, a veteran animator for PlayStation Studios Visual Arts, who recently stated on Twitter that PlayStation, quote, has some bangers coming out this year, Travis, end quote. What doesn't seem like much at surface level could actually be quite significant, as Morrison's team is rumored to be working on a remake of the original Last of Us for PlayStation 5, according to multiple reports. Although a report by Bloomberg claims that Naughty Dog has since taken over the project in house to get it across the finish line, with PlayStation Visual Arts taking on a supporting role. Morrison also claimed that he has been working on a title for nearly 5 years that has not yet been announced. Elsewhere, website Video Games Chronicle reports that a newly hired Naughty Dog recruiter posted on professional social media site LinkedIn that it is, quote, special being able to be building future teams for not only new titles but for the legacy of Uncharted, end quote. Combined with comments made earlier this year by Uncharted and Lost Legacy creative director Shauna Skagg, another Uncharted game seems likely to be in development. Skagg told website Games Radar in January, quote, Uncharted is a franchise we love, that the studio loves, I love, and Kurt Margiano, the Uncharted 4 co-lead designer, loves. It's a world we want to see more of, so I can certainly say that, end quote. What do you make of this?
The obvious thing is that they're considering the live service Last of Us to be a banger, right? Like that's the first thing that I thought of. Jumping to Uncharted, I think that we've all thought it's probably a continuation of the story, but you're playing with Drake's daughter, right? Is that kind of the general consensus?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, not to get too spoilery, but yeah.
Yeah, so like that's how I took it. I mean, it just seems like they wouldn't do the Drake thing again. It seems like if we're going to see Drake anymore in Uncharted, it's going to be as with Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg. So
Yeah,
my take is that also the way it's worded, like the legacy of it, like
mm,
like we think about the legacy of
that's a
what
good
like
point.
of the Bush family, like George W. carried that on, right? Not his dad. So like I think we're moving
Mm,
on to something there.
good point.
That would be my jump to for those two. But I mean, the most interesting thing to me here is because I think we already kind of knew about the other two is what is this game he's been working on for 5 years? It has to be a passion project. Like there's no
Yeah,
way we haven't heard that much about it. Maybe it's smaller in scale than like an Uncharted or a Last of Us. I would assume as much. That doesn't
right.
mean it's not written as well or there's not as much attention to detail, but it seems like there's something that is, almost kind of like when Scorsese randomly makes the documentary or that really weird movie with Adam Driver. It's kind of like not what we or it's not The Irishman or Goodfellas, right? But it's still something that kind of has a niche. I'm interested to see what that is, but I would be willing to bet it's kind of off the wall.
The one thing that I'm not certain about is he says he's been working on something for 5 years. So my question is, could that be the Last of Us remake for PlayStation 5? Like, is that a game that would take 5 years to make? Bringing it because it's been remastered for PlayStation 4. Does it the remake from PlayStation 4 to PlayStation 5, is that worthy of 5 years of work? Like, I wouldn't think so.
Right.
Maybe a couple, you know. I mean, but five, I mean, certainly not. It wouldn't seem that way. But so that makes me wonder if kind of what you're talking about. Are we talking about has he been working on an Uncharted title, but then he also helped with the Last of Us stuff? Could that be both? Wonder if that's a possibility. Both are exciting, and he said bangers plural is the thing, so that's obviously more than one. But does that mean the Last of Us remake and the Last of Us factions multiplayer potentially? I don't know, but I have said before on the show that I feel like, and I have felt like, although I have been, I guess, less inclined to say it as much, that I feel like outside of Horizon, Gran Turismo, and God of War Ragnarok coming later this year, that it feels like there's one more game we don't know about. I've said that a couple times,
Right.
and maybe it does seem like possibly it's a live service or a multiplayer game. And the only one we know about really is Factions. So could Factions release this year? I hope so. There hasn't been really any talk about it coming out this year, but it does certainly feel in the gut like there is one more game this year potentially. But yeah, it's exciting. And even if they do all of these things, we know they're doing Factions, but even if they do a Last of Us remake and they do another Uncharted game, all of those are very exciting projects for Naughty Dog to be doing. Number two, Jim Ryan returned to the PlayStation blog from a massive gaming binge on Friday to offer an update on the new PlayStation Plus service. The good news is that things are slightly ahead of schedule, according to Jim, and the revamped service will launch in Asian markets, with the exception of Japan, around May 23rd. I say around because Ryan says these dates are all quote unquote targeted release dates for the service. Elsewhere in the world, the new PlayStation Plus is targeting a June 1st launch in Japan, a June 13th launch in the Americas, and a June 22nd launch in Europe. And another bit of welcome news, especially for European gamers, PlayStation is also expanding access to their cloud streaming feature for 11 additional markets across Central and Eastern Europe. In related news, we may have discovered our first set of retro games coming to the new PlayStation Plus premium tier, as website Gamatsu reported this week that Syphon Filter, Syphon Filter 2, Syphon Filter Dark Mirror, and Syphon Filter Logan's Shadow have all been rated in Korea for both PS4 and PS5. Sony's Bend Studio, formerly known as Eidetic, created and developed all four titles, with the first Syphon Filter releasing on PlayStation 1 in 1999. Its sequel released the following year on PlayStation 1 and added a multiplayer mode. Dark Mirror and Logan's Shadow released in 2006 and 2007, respectively, for PlayStation Portable, and were later ported to the PlayStation 2 as well. Looking at the pieces as a whole, it stands to reason that these versions of the games are set to be included in the highest tier of the new PlayStation Plus once the service launches this summer. Do you have any thoughts here?
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of target dates. It almost feels like that's what we're
Yeah.
moving to, as opposed to release dates. You know, like this is our target date.
Mhm.
Oh no, it got delayed. And target date is more
Right.
PR friendly, I think, for a failure. So that's all I'm seeing. But that's okay.
100%.
So at least we have an idea. So we know if it doesn't hit the Asian market in a month, we're not getting it anywhere else on time. Would be my guess. I don't like that we're
Yeah.
a month away and still are on the target phase. I would like to be much closer than that, and I wonder if there's, maybe they're just being cautious. Would be my guess. Like they've
Yeah.
had enough time to work on this that you'd think it's pretty functional. So I'm not too worried about
Yeah.
missing the date. But again, target date is a new buzzword, so I can't wait to see where we go with this. I
Yeah.
remember Syphon Filter. I don't know if I specifically remember playing it, but I remember seeing it. I remember all the artwork. I
Mhm.
watched some gameplay and it looks familiar, but I swear I'm not sure if I played it. It
Sure.
might be a false memory, but that is an interesting game that I wouldn't have pulled that as to being the first, game series that was on the premium tier. But that's kind of right in line with really what you should expect from these classic games. Like it's going to be kind of all over the place, which is exciting. It's kind of fun because you don't really know what we're going to get, and there's a little part of my brain that hopes one of these bangers we just talked about in bullet point number one is a random retro game that those guys have been working on for some reason.
Mm.
I don't know what it would be, but I really hope there's something there because I do like that idea that these more well known studios maybe help out with getting a new game ready for the live service, or sorry, for the premium service. So that's interesting to me. I don't really know where or why or how or even if that would work, but it's stuck in my head now.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of interesting things about this. First of all, like you said, targeted release dates is odd, but it's very PR friendly. I understand that. Like we've talked about before, you've specifically brought it up before on the show. It's weird to us to sit here and see that they're going to launch it first in the Asian markets outside of Japan, which is Sony's home country, first of all, and then even Asia and Japan before the Americas, which is the biggest gaming market in the world, and also where PlayStation is headquartered in California. But my guess on this is that they can launch it in Asia in all the other Asian countries, and if things go wrong, it's not the end of the world, as opposed as if it was in Japan or the Americas. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that kind of gives them a little like play there, I think. But the other thing, well, two other things really. Maybe I'm stupid, but I'm confused as to why this requires a rollout necessarily. Like we have PlayStation Plus, and they're all they have to do is like make like I feel like they just have to flip a switch on these 700 games and say, okay, now they're free. If person has X button checked because they're PlayStation Plus, whatever, this game's not free. But maybe I'm simplifying it too much, but or maybe I'm not thinking about it deep enough. But I don't. I'm a little bit confused about that. Maybe they're more so worried about like the cloud streaming aspect of it, is my guess potentially. I don't know, but whatever. This is how they've chosen to do it, and so it is what it is. And then the other thing I find very interesting about this is that these games are rated for PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. one other thing that we still don't know about this service is, are they going to utilize the power of the modern systems for these retro games to improve them in any way? Because they're not going to go back and remaster all these games. For instance, they're not going back to the developers and doing that. But on Xbox, for instance, the hardware can accelerate the game to where old certain games, like original Xbox games, for instance, certain games will run at 60 frames per second because it's boosted by the hardware on the Xbox Series, whatever. So I'm wondering if they figured out a way to do that, or if literally they're just bringing the game forward and there will be a PlayStation 4 and a PlayStation 5 version. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so that's something very interesting. Is it is in that we still don't know, but makes me wonder because of the fact that they've rated these versions for the most the last two consoles. So that, I guess to be determined on that. And then I guess finally to wrap up is that I feel like within the next couple of weeks they're going to have to do another blog post and reveal the lineup of the retro games, because if this is the process that's having to take place and they're having to be rated and whatnot, more of these are going to leak out. And I think that maybe not the other current games they may not have to reveal, but these retro ones, I feel like they're going to have to reveal here in the next couple of weeks, or they're all going to be leaked sooner or later. Number three, it seems that Insomniac Games simply cannot stop adding projects to their plate, as website PlayStation Lifestyle reported that the PlayStation Studio is now hiring engineers for a new multiplayer project, according to recent job listings. In September of last year, insider Nick Baker claimed that the studio is working on a multiplayer game based on a Marvel IP exclusively for the PlayStation 5. Additional job advertisements from June of last year were found for a creative director, a story lead, and a systems designer for the multiplayer title. Notably, the story lead position job description lists developing, quote, episodic and non-linear storylines, end quote, and requires the person to have experience crafting multiplayer narratives. The systems designer, meanwhile, says that the person will develop melee combat systems. This news confirms that Insomniac currently has 3 known games in development: Spider-Man 3, Wolverine, and now this multiplayer project. What do you make of it?
Yeah, it's kind of a little bit more of an elaboration of what we have kind of rumorly heard is going on. Like, what is this third project? What is it? Are there any details? So, the multiplayer confirmation, there was a lot of smoke there. I remember we talked about this last year a little bit. Like, what could this be? I still don't know
Yeah.
specifically what it could be. Like, yeah, it's a Marvel character, but like, what do you mean? Is it a better attempt at the live service of the Avengers? Is
Mm,
it I don't know, is it all the Spider-Man characters like the last movie? Like, I don't know. I have no idea. But the way it's worded, like episodic non-linear storylines, like all I'm seeing there is almost like when we're playing Destiny and we can just like farm stuff out. It doesn't
mm.
matter what order we're in. We can do whatever we want as long as we have the right level or the right experience or gear or whatever. So I think it's
That's I think
yeah.
yeah, that's
I
awesome.
think that's kind of where it's headed. I mean, like we all enjoyed Marvels. It just was a little bit shallow in some ways. I think maybe that's why it didn't stick for a lot of people. I thought it
Right.
was fun,
Yeah.
so I'm thinking, I'm hoping it's better than that, and it should
Right.
be hypothetically. But like we know that Wolverine's gonna sell already. People would pre-order the game right now if they'd let you. And
Mhm.
Spider-Man 2 is gonna have some of the biggest expectations for a video game in a long time. Like
No kidding.
that and God of War level expectations. Like people think Ragnarok's going to be badass. Same thing with this new Spider-Man, especially after Miles Morales. So they have two IPs already that they're running that are going to have these huge, huge expectations. I'm wondering where this fits in because to
Yep.
me as a studio head, like I'm worried about Spider-Man and Wolverine. Like that, those are my main concerns because if those things hit, like they have to hit in a way the multiplayer thing, the live service thing, what this feels like, I don't really know. It's like they're not going to try. That's not what I mean. I mean like you're going to put your best guys on Spider-Man and Wolverine. I feel like so we'll see. I don't really.
Yeah.
I still don't really know where we go with it. Like I can't. I'm having a hard time picturing the world we're in. Exactly. It's still very vague to me. But I'm glad we have a multiplayer foundation kind of a block to build on.
Yeah, because you wouldn't think that they would do another Avengers multiplayer game. Like you feel like that's off the table now, right? Because we just got that, so that doesn't seem likely. So what other multiplayer kind of thing? You know what? I wonder if it's Fantastic Four.
I forget that's a thing.
I do too. I just had that epiphany. I wonder if it's Fantastic Four because that's kind of a dormant thing that they could bring back, and Wolverine's dormant as well. From a film perspective. So, wow, that actually might work. And if you think about it, Marvel or shoot, uh, what are they called? Fantastic Four. Sorry, Fantastic Four is probably most similar to the gameplay of the Spider-Man games. So that probably adds up. I mean, probably adds up anyway, but we don't know for sure. That's obviously I'm just speculating, but I think that I hadn't really considered that they're making like a Destiny style game for this until you just said that. I think that's very interesting. I think that could work. And obviously we know Sony's doing this push for live service titles as we've been talking about on the show. So I think that really could work. And I think the fact that Marvel's Avengers, in a weird way, you would think the fact that Marvel's Avengers has some stink on it, that this would not be a good thing. But I think the fact that it does have some stink on it, combined with the fact that this is Insomniac making this and not Square Enix and Crystal Dynamics, I think lends a lot of positivity to something like that, and meaning a live service Marvel game. I think that's exciting. The other thing that stood out to me about this is that it seems clear now that Insomniac Games has become the Marvel studio for PlayStation. There's no way they could be making anything else, in my opinion. I mean, outside of Spider-Man, Wolverine, and now this, how could they make Ratchet and Clank? How could they make a new Resistance game or Sunset Overdrive or something like that? I just don't think it's possible. I don't necessarily like that either. Like I don't think PlayStation should be in the business of having a studio that only makes Marvel games. But what do we know? I mean, they sell 20 million copies, so what do I know? Jim Ryan's the businessman. Oh, by the way, earlier I took a little shot at him about having a gaming binge because the motherfucker doesn't play video games. There's like a picture of him, like famously, he's holding a PlayStation controller and he's holding it like he's never held one before. Like he's not holding it any way that a gamer would ever hold a PlayStation controller. Number 4, Amy Hennig is getting another shot at her Star Wars game thanks to a new partnership between Skydance New Media and Lucasfilm Games. Hennig, who is currently the president of Skydance New Media, funny how that worked out, says the deal will see the two parties create, quote, a richly cinematic action adventure game featuring an original story in the legendary Star Wars galaxy, end quote. Hennig previously worked on the Star Wars franchise for the now defunct Electronic Arts studio Visceral Games. That project, codenamed Ragtag, was canceled by EA, and Visceral Games was shut down entirely in late 2017. This is the second game deal between Skydance and Disney, who have also partnered on a title in the Marvel Universe. As for Hennig, she most recently co-wrote the upcoming PlayStation 5 exclusive Forspoken with Star Wars Rogue One writer Gary Whitta. Of course, Hennig is most known for her work writing and directing Uncharted 1 through 3 for PlayStation, before departing developer Naughty Dog in 2014 to work on the canceled Star Wars project Ragtag, as previously mentioned. Prior to Naughty Dog and Uncharted, she worked for current Tomb Raider developer Crystal Dynamics as the writer and director on the beloved Legacy of Kain series. One interesting sidebar here, Travis, for the first two news stories. Nathan Drake performance actor Nolan North said this week that after Amy Hennig was fired from Naughty Dog, that they redid most of the performance work on Uncharted 4 and changed the cast dramatically. Originally, Graham McTavish was supposed to play Cutter, Todd Stashwick played Sam, Nathan's brother, and Alan Tudyk played Rafe, the main villain, and all three actors were recast for the final version of the game. So just a interesting little note. But what do you think about Star Wars game, Amy Hennig, and all that good stuff?
What's an Alan Tudyk?
He's the guy who acts like a pirate in Dodgeball. Is that movie where he acts like a pirate?
I got
He's that
you.
guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
All
that
right.
guy.
All right. Good old Alan Tudyk. Yeah, so, anyway,
uh,
nice that they're working on a Marvel game, so suck it, Insomniac, take that.
there's too many of them.
Right. Yeah, I mean, Amy Hennig definitely has a pedigree. Funny
Hmm.
how she's the president, like you said now, and she's making deals with Lucas. Like, my question about the Star Wars game is, when I think about the way Uncharted is written and the way it's cast and the way it's played, it's much closer to Spaceballs than it is Star Wars.
Mm,
So, I'm not sure the part of what makes Uncharted fun is the charm of the characters, right? And
sure.
that one of the problems with Star Wars or working with an IP like Star Wars or even Marvel is those characters already have their own personalities built in. So you're working with somebody else's creative idea. And that's a challenge in itself. Like if you've made a character or a storyline or whatever for a game yourself, your team can kind of work within that because you're developing it together to jump onto something like Star Wars where you might be having people write storylines that are, is the fan base going to say this isn't lore, this is lore, yada yada yada? Like, I don't know. I just feel like that's such a hard IP to get right. Like, even if it's really good, there's going to be people that fucking hate it. So
Oh yeah.
I would assume the reason she's jumped on this is because she must have some sort of passion for Star Wars. Like the way she keeps
Yeah.
wanting to bring it back and bring this idea back for her game, she clearly has some sort of passion for it. So that is a good sign because that means she can probably handle all of those things I talked about because she's familiar with them.
Right.
Me and you writing it, aside from us being probably terrible character writers, would be we're not really familiar enough with that world to really get things. It would take us 10 years to get to a point probably that where we could even understand some of the references in the other games, right? So
Yeah.
I do think it's interesting. I'm super burnt out on all the Star Wars stuff I see. Like I don't even want to watch the movies.
Yeah.
I haven't watched any of the movies since the very first new one.
Same.
So, I think that all the other Star Wars games in the past, even have been or in the past, like the last decade, the best one has been what Lego Star Wars, and everything else has been mildly mid. So it's like, how many mid Star Wars games do I need?
I know the Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order game was well received, but I played it. It did not click for me. Doesn't mean it's a bad game, but it's for me. It's definitely mid. Star Wars. There's a weird parallel between the Star Wars IP and Marvel IP because to me, in my opinion, we're close to a level of burnout on all of that. But there are people who love it and they just keep watching it and playing it and so on and so forth. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm broken. I don't know, but a Star Wars game, whatever. It's great. I'm sure it's going to have, like you said, it's going to have some of that Uncharted DNA because that's obviously who she is as a writer, as a designer, so on and so forth. She has said that some of the elements of her canceled games are going to be included into this one. So I guess there's that. But good for her. I guess she basically the other weird thing about this is she essentially gave herself another shot because she's the president of Skydance New Media. So she negotiated a deal for herself to make a game that she's always wanted to make. But I mean, I guess if you're in that position of power, that's your prerogative. And then the last thing I find it as a sidebar, I find it very interesting that she had cast these actors like Graham McTavish, Alan Tudyk to play these characters. I mean, that's not only an expensive budget for performance capture for actors, but those are people who aren't typically in video games. All other Graham McTavish, I think, is done Call of Duty stuff, but it's weird. I think it says a lot, is what I'm trying to say, that after they got rid of her and then they fired all those three actors and redid it. And that makes you wonder what state the game was in and what it looked like and how Sony felt about that. But anyway, she's going to get her second shot here at a Star Wars game, courtesy of herself. Number 5, Sony Interactive Entertainment is planning to integrate in game advertisements in free to play games, according to a new report from Business Insider. The move is designed to incentivize developers to make their games free to play by giving them another avenue to monetize. The report claims that Sony has not decided if it will take a cut of said ad revenue or if it will charge marketing partners for data on consumer behavior in PlayStation games. Sony is currently testing a software program that would allow developers to create in game ads with the goal of them being built into the game, with Business Insider writing, quote, the goal is for the ads to appear like they're part of the game, like digital billboards in sports stadiums. Formats can include ads that give viewers rewards for watching ads and promotions for in-game items like avatar skins, end quote. According to Business Insider, the ad program is planned to be introduced later this year. What do you think about these advertisements?
I mean, it's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
The way they're talking about doing this is literally the way it works in movies. Like, oh, they're drinking a Coke, and you like subliminally notice.
Mm,
They could talk to 2K. 2K puts ads in all their fucking shit. So, like, I mean, it can't
they
be
do.
that hard.
Right.
You know, tying it into watching ad to get, in-game currency or skin, that's something that, that's
2K does that too.
2K does that. You vote, you get 100 credits or whatever. I feel like mobile games might have something like that. Like you watch an
Yeah.
ad and you get a free turn or whatever. So, or, hell, you can get a free spin on the 2K wheel or whatever, the free ball drop. So, yeah, I mean, it's just a matter
Yeah.
of time. I'm not surprised. I think Netflix said they're going to start showing commercials too. So, as long as it's not, like a YouTube ad where it's super intrusive, I don't think people are going to care.
I think you made a really good point that I hadn't considered, because I've just been looking at this in a literal sense in terms of, hey, I'm going to be playing something and it's going to pop up between like FIFA game. Like this is a bad example. It's not a Sony game, but it's
Oh,
going to
yeah.
pop up between FIFA matches and say, oh, Old Spice, and it's going to be the commercial.
I
So I've
guess they
been
could
thinking
do
about
that.
it. I guess so. I've been thinking about it in that way, but I hadn't considered that maybe I'm playing The Last of Us Part 3 and I'm going through a town and then there's like a tattered Coca-Cola billboard or like, there's a Dell computer over there on the desk, just like you said, like product placement. So I hadn't considered that. That's an interesting that's an interesting idea. And that's less invasive obviously, and that's I mean arguably in my opinion, that's a more effective way to advertise to video gamers. And what I mean by that is if I'm playing a game and it pops up and makes me watch a commercial, that's going to annoy me. Like I'm not watching television, I'm playing video games for a purpose. Okay. But if I'm walking through a desolate town and I see, a Barks root beer can, I'm like, oh, wow, they got a Barks root beer can. Like I'm going to
Right.
think it's cool for a second. Right. And then it might make me want to drink a Barks root beer. Like, so to me, I actually think you make a really good point. I think product placement would be a better avenue, but I'm sure it won't be that subtle. I mean, who are we kidding? Also, last week, Xbox, I guess this came out, Microsoft announced this or something like that, and people, meaning Sony fans, were just going in and just making fun of Xbox and this and that. And I tweeted, I said, I said, be careful because PlayStation's going to follow suit, and not even a fucking week later, we get this report. So you gotta just be careful when you're console war flaming out there. You gotta wear what you wish for. Number 6. Oh, wait, hang on. Before we move on here. I forgot about this. The very last sentence there. Business Insider says that the ad program is planned to be introduced later this year. Okay. What PlayStation game do we have coming later this year that would be a candidate for advertisements? Right now, we don't have one, but could we potentially be getting one that is going to have advertisements in it that's unannounced? I don't know. Maybe. Number 6, we also have a bunch of news nuggets here as well, Travis. Feel free to jump in here. First nugget, Bloomberg reported on Friday that Ubisoft is the target of a potential buyout by private equity firms Blackstone and KKR. Ubisoft stock shot up 11% amid talks of the preliminary takeover interest. Blackstone sounds like a CIA project.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
This is like the second time in a decade that Ubisoft has been almost like hostily acquired.
Yeah, I mean that exactly. And then from what sounds like a government agency, it's par for the course. They don't really peacefully take over anything.
Right. Right. Also, website gamesindustry.biz reported that Rockstar Games edited out multiple transphobic caricatures in the next gen release of GTA 5. The changes appear to come at the behest of UK-based LGBTQ plus game professional association Outmaking Games.
That's so specific. Like, let's take our typical queer group that we are all a part of, and then let's add video. Like, it's so specific.
Yeah, like you mean that they targeted Grand Theft Auto 5
Yeah,
specifically?
but it's like a whole like, clearly they worry about games because of what they're titled. Like, it's just odd
Oh,
to
I
me.
see.
Yeah, it's just
I
like of
see.
all the things, like, can you imagine playing a video game and just looking for transphobic things? Like, what are you
Yeah,
doing with your time? Like, it has to be Grand Theft Auto. That's probably it. What other game would cross a line like that? Like, I don't know, because 'cause they're not worried about it.
right. It's either Grand Theft Auto or Saints Row. I mean, I'm
Oh,
sure there
yeah.
are others, but also like I don't know, man. Like I'm this is like the stand-up comic dilemma for me. Okay. People have problem with, Chris Rock making a GI Jane joke for Jada about Jada Pinkett Smith, or, Dave Chappelle saying whatever ignorant shit he says, but it's also at the same time, it
Mhm,
is meant to be satire. It's a video game, it's a stand-up comedy routine.
mhm.
It's it's not, you can't take it seriously, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Like, it'd be different if like GTA like got in there and were like, "Hey, Hitler's a pretty nice guy. He killed millions of Jews. He's a pretty nice guy." Like,
Right.
they make fun of so many people on Grand Theft Auto 5. They make fun of, oh my gosh, they make fun of redneck,
That's
Confederate
Trevor's whole
flag flying
character.
people. Yeah, like they make fun of so many people
Mhm,
in Grand Theft Auto 5. Like, literally no one is immune
mhm,
from the ire of Rockstar Games,
mhm.
okay? And I'm not saying that anybody deserves any ill will or anything like that, but like it's a fucking video game. It's Grand Theft Auto. They make fun of everybody.
Yeah.
Literally
Listen to the
everybody.
radio stations.
Yeah, listen to the radio. They make fun of white women who are homemakers. They make fun of corporate white asshole. Like, they mean,
Conspiracy
it's just
theorists, you name it.
conspiracy. Yeah, it's just I don't
I
know,
just
man. I
I
don't know.
think that, everybody loves freedom of speech until they're offended, and it's like you have to
Man,
really we have to weigh out what it represents. There's a much deeper philosophical way to look at the way people interpret freedom of speech, and, like, if you sometimes you become so sometimes your intolerance actually being tolerant and intolerant, there's a fine line, and you can actually kinda run into more issues. You can actually be less free by being more open, if that makes sense. So
sure.
there's I don't know. They're just I feel like they're skirting the line with some of this stuff.
Anyway, next nugget. The gender discrimination lawsuit against Sony has been dismissed by a U.S. federal judge, although 3 of the plaintiffs' 13 claims related to wrongful termination will be allowed to continue. Longtime Ubisoft developer Patrick Plourde has departed the company after nearly 20 years working on Assassin's Creed, Watch Dogs, and the Far Cry franchises. Plourde was also the creator of Child of Light and was one of many people named in recent misconduct allegations. Imagine that. Blizzard Entertainment has claimed that it will not include NFTs in any projects after a survey was sent out to gauge player interest in
Of
NFTs.
course.
Yeah.
There's something about NFTs, like the fact that these are even a thing and people were what is a correlation? There's got to be a corollary from 15 or 20 years ago. Like, what is this, like Furbies or
Yeah.
something? Like, or Beanie Babies?
Yeah.
Like, what is this like?
I've been trying to think of it too. Maybe it's like the phones that, like, well, no, because those are back around. I don't know. I don't know. But yeah, you're right. Also, news outlet Reuters reported that the Chinese government will ban the live streaming of unauthorized video games in the country. What a great place. Gearbox Entertainment has fully acquired developer Lost Boys Interactive. The studio was formed in 2017 and most recently worked with Gearbox as a co developer on Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. Gearbox also announced that a new Tales from the Borderlands game is in development. In other Gearbox news, parent company Embracer Group has rebranded Perfect World Entertainment as Gearbox Publishing. Perfect World was acquired by Embracer in December and is responsible for titles like Neverwinter, Star Trek Online, Remnant from the Ashes, and the Torchlight series.
I'm not sure there's a Gearbox game I like.
Oh,
Is there one?
really? So, I don't know. You don't like you don't like Borderlands? Have you ever played Borderlands?
It just never really appealed to me. The
Yeah.
characters in it just remind me of people I don't like.
I think I know one that you. I don't know if you've ever played it, but I think oh my god, Brothers in Arms, the World War II squad based third person
It's
shooter.
familiar.
That's
It's familiar.
that's a Gearbox
Okay.
game. I think that's an Xbox 360 game.
Mm. All right.
I'll have to look that up. But maybe that's one you like. Maybe you've never played it. Anyway. Also, long running MMORPG Terra will be shut down on June 30th after being supported for more than a decade by developer Bluehole,
Uh-huh.
including receiving a PS4 version in 2018.
Shh.
Better than Brownhole.
There it is.
Website Video Games Chronicle reported that Square Enix's recent hack and slash multiplayer game Babylon's Fall fell to less than 10, yes, concurrent players on PC at one point this week. What a disaster.
And if I am them, if I'm Square Enix, I'm like, who's watching this to tell me how shitty we are? Like, just fucking watch something else. Stop telling me how bad I am. Like,
Yeah, we know it sucks. Also, Returnal game director Harry Kruger said this week that while Housemarque could make the game easier, the gameplay challenge and narrative of the game are quote unquote inseparable.
I agree with that.
Yeah,
I feel
that's
this.
fair.
I feel the same way about all the Bourne games. Like it
Yeah.
should be hard. It's
It's
okay that it's hard.
yeah, it's just not for me. I've tried it again recently. I love Housemarque. I love their other stuff. It's just this one's just not for me. That's fine. PlayStation VR exclusive Moss Book 2 appears to have bombed as player numbers on PSN tracking site PSN Profiles shows that just 101 registered owners across the game's two SKUs. It should be noted that PSN Profiles is an opt-in service, so it does not necessarily track every PlayStation profile, but only 101 registered owners of the game. That is fucking awful.
Better than Babylon's Fall.
Fair. It's all about perspective.
Yeah, they're technically like 100% better right
Oh, it's awful. Next nugget. According to Variety, Warner Brothers Discovery is working to quote unquote bolster DC's video game output as part of a larger overhaul of the DC universe and media. Interesting. PC players can now update their DualSense controller firmware without having to connect to a PlayStation 5. Marvel's Avengers' next playable hero will be Jane Foster's Mighty Thor, which will arrive alongside the game's 2.5 update. Twisted Metal and God of War creator David Jaffe revealed this week that he rejected an offer to direct a $100 million budget game from Chinese communist company Tencent due to his views of the Chinese government. Finally, somebody did it. Somebody said no to Tencent, told him to
now.
fuck off.
You send that to LeBron.
Cannot believe it.
Let him know.
For real. I respect Jaffe for that a lot. Battlefield 2042's latest update finally added voice chat to the game some 6 months after launch, Travis. Wow, what a game.
Well, how many concurrent users do they have? Do you think, I mean, seriously,
Probably,
think 5,000, if that?
probably, no shit. They've been around 1,000 for a long
Oh,
time now on PC. Well, I mean, at least on maybe total across all platforms, they might have 5,000, but I don't know. Also, Sega or Sega has greenlit big budget reboots of Crazy Taxi and Jet Set Radio, according to a new report from Bloomberg, who also claims that the games will be the first titles in Sega's quote unquote super game initiative. I hate
interesting.
this so much.
Why? You don't like Crazy Taxi?
No, I love Crazy Taxi. I hate super game.
Oh, that sucks. I can't imagine Crazy Taxi is a full price game. I want to say that right now. I feel like there's not a lot in the game. Like it's just the way it's built, you know?
Yeah. The It Takes Two film will be produced by The Rock's $7 production company, and the actor could even star in the movie, according to reports from Variety. Seems so odd to me. The newly announced Sonic Origins game will lock modes, character animations, and more behind DLC packs when it launches. Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga is a smash hit success, as it has already sold 3.2 million units in its first 2 weeks on the market. The game also sold more physical copies than both Horizon Forbidden West and Elden Ring in the United Kingdom, as well as surpassing concurrent player counts on Steam for any previous LEGO game by 1,200%. So, way better than Babylon's Fall.
Yeah, for some reason these Lego Star Wars games just hit. I don't know what it is. It's like the other ones don't, but if
Yeah.
it's a Lego Star Wars, it kills. That's what I don't get about like the whole Star Wars thing. It's very odd to me.
Also, Konami Holdings Corporation announced plans to change its name later this year to coincide with the company's 50th anniversary.
Oh, we can give them some great names. Do they want any? Number 1, Jack Me Hoff. We can start there. And we can keep going.
Wow, Wet Beaver Productions.
Clinton Dix.
Also, Call of Duty Warzone Operation Monarch leaked this week, revealing that Godzilla and King Kong are coming to the game sometime in May.
What the fuck is going on?
I don't know. It's become Fortnite.
What do you
It's fucking dead to me.
do you mean I can walk around as Godzilla so I'm 20 fucking feet tall on a map?
I don't know.
I have a lot of
I really
questions.
don't.
Sorry, I got really fired up about that.
In other Call of Duty news, we are getting closer to a Modern Warfare 2 teaser because the Infinity Ward and other social media accounts for Call of Duty have changed their bio and their background pictures to black, and on Instagram they deleted every one of their posts.
Mm.
So
Why?
apparently something's on the
Why do
way.
we need to delete every post? We could just start posting from where we were. That's unnecessary.
You know, they're just whatever. It's another marketing thing.
Maybe they're just really zoomed in on King Kong and it's just his black fur.
Yeah, it could be. Also, Skate 4 pre-alpha footage also leaked out this week, as EA has been holding a playtest, according to insider Tom Henderson. Skate 4 is also rumored to allow players to design skate parks cooperatively in free skate mode. God of War Ragnarok's animation director told fans on Twitter that the game is still on track to release this year, so you can quit worrying about that. The House of the Dead remake is launching on PS4 on April the 28th, and it will include a PS Move support, interestingly enough. A Streets of Rage movie is being developed by Sega. According to Deadline, the movie is being written by John Wick writer Derek Kolstad and will be produced by the same group who has produced the recent Sonic the Hedgehog films. Rhythm action game Rhythm Sprout will come to both PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 sometime later this year. Mutant Football League 2 was announced to be in development for PS4 and PS5, but no release date was given. Website Push Square reported that motion capture for Insomniac Games' Wolverine title may be underway, or at least is soon to be underway, as lead animator Mike Yosh tweeted out a photo from a motion capture studio recently. It's fun. Developer Techland announced that Dying Light 2 has sold 5 million copies in its first month on the market, and to celebrate, the studio is delivering a big update next week.
That's pretty good. Hey, it's not bad.
That's really good for them. Yeah, it's a big success. Great success. Guilty Gear Strive will be concluding its first season of updates with an additional story mode on April 29th. Sega Genesis first-person shooter Zero Tolerance collection is headed to PS4 with a limited physical release from Strictly Limited Games sometime this fall. Website PlayStation Lifestyle reported that Rainbow Six Siege received its first new map in 3 years this week, called Emerald Plains.
And you downloaded it.
I did not. Thought about it, but I did not. Also, a quote-unquote degraded PlayStation console led to a bomb scare at Boston's Logan International Airport this week, which caused them to evacuate Terminal A. The worn condition of the system caused abnormalities when it was x-rayed.
Wow.
I was thinking it was going to be the PS4 jet engine fan.
So yeah, they plugged it in the lobby and they were like, what the fuck?
That's a bomb for sure. Oh boy. Developer First Contact Entertainment, the studio behind PlayStation VR game Firewall 0 Hour, is working on an unannounced game for PSVR 2, according to the LinkedIn page of the studio's director. Horizon developer Guerrilla Games teased that there will indeed be a third mainline game in the series, according to an interview with creative director Matthijs de Jong and website BG247. Developer Third Verse announced that online servers for PSVR game Swords of Garfantua will be shut down on September the 30th.
It was crazy is that game definitely had more than 10 concurrent users.
Yeah.
Swords of Garfantua.
Yes. 100%, no doubt. Also, insider Tom Henderson reported that Ubisoft has another game in the works, this time a PvP battle arena game that includes a battle royale mode. It is currently codenamed Project Q, and it is said to have an aesthetic similar to Overwatch or Knockout City. And yes, it was also a game that was on the leaked GeForce Now list. I mean, have they not learned how many of these games? How many of these games do they need? They're all the same.
Yeah, I'm just impressed by the GeForce list.
Yeah, it's 100% accurate at this point of in terms of, what has leaked. Also, that means we're getting Helldivers too, and that
Right.
pleases me so much that we're going to get to watch John kill the hostage.
He's so good at that game. God,
Oh,
I mean, it's like classic John. Like, oh God, I wish if we were filming stuff back then and putting it on YouTube, and you were like, oh yeah, that was John. Like, it would be like just right on cue.
hilarious. Next nugget, website PlayStation Universe reported that the following games received update patches this week: Predator Hunting Grounds, Minecraft Dungeons, PUBG, Horizon Forbidden West, WWE 2K22, Destiny 2, Rainbow Six Siege, No Man's Sky, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, Call of Duty Vanguard, Elden Ring, Dreams, Madden 22, and Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. So if you've been waiting for some fixes or content, you might want to check that out. Also, the delayed PS4 version of Sherlock Holmes Chapter 1 is finally releasing on April 28th. That's your game. Website Gematsu reported that third-person looter shooter Arcadegeddon, which first launched in early access on PS5 last summer, will enjoy a full release on PS4 and PS5 on July 5th. The price will raise to $30 from its current early access price of $20 when that happens, and I highly recommend this game. It's very, very fun on PS5. Still one of the best uses of the DualSense
Oh
controller,
yeah.
in my opinion. We're not biased or anything, but very good use of the DualSense. Also, I have to give a little note here that I was pimping the game for Ilphonic, the studio who made Arcadegeddon, and I quote tweeted them and pimped them out a little bit, and then Gio Corsi, who is an executive at the studio who is one of the PlayStation Vita godfathers, liked our tweet that I had sent out. So I was very erect when that happened. It was very, very neat. Also, turn-based action game Research and Destroy, great name, launches on PS4 and PS5 on April 25th. A native PS5 version of roguelike platformer Scourgebringer stealth released this week. It is free for owners of the PS4 version. Zen puzzle building game Lego Builder's Journey, also stealth released on PS4 and PS5 this week. I'll have something to say about that later. Side-scrolling platformer They Always Run. Seems very creepy. Very creepy game title.
Mm-hmm.
Will release on PS4 on May 19th. Shoot 'em up game Cotton Fantasy, also known as Cotton Rock and Roll in Japan,
Mm-hmm.
will release on PS4 in the West on May 20th.
That just feels a little off,
Mm-hmm.
especially with the one above that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Also, publisher Paradox Interactive announced that the Shadowrun trilogy of computer RPGs that we mentioned last week will come to PS4 and PS5 on June 21st. Publisher Bandai Namco announced that Digimon Survive will head west and release on PS4 on July 29th. 3D action RPG Sword of the Necromancer Revenant was announced for PS4 and PS5, but no release date was given. 3D platformer Cow the Kangaroo will launch on PS4 and PS5 on May 27th. Publisher THQ Nordic announced animal hunting game Way of the Hunter for PS5, but no release date was given. It will feature 2 55 square mile maps, realistic ballistic simulation, a realistic wildlife simulation, and online cooperative play. Travis.
Yeah, I'm a real Dick Cheney, so you better watch out.
Oh, I'm gonna make you play that with me. That's gonna be fun.
I
We're
mean,
gonna make a YouTube series.
First of all,
Let's do it.
you send me the trailer, and the guy's like trying to sneak up on some fluffy animal, and he steps on a twig and it cracks, and all the deer run away. And I was like, how I can't see the fucking grass. It's not defined enough to see the stick. Like, what is this?
Dude, this is gonna be gold. We have to do this whenever this comes out. You got to be there.
We'll get copyrighted by like Mike Waddell or somebody.
We'll get copyrighted by fucking Smokey the Bear or Bambi. All right. Also, action RPG Asterigos Curse of the Stars will release sometime this fall on PS4 and PS5. Publishers Marvelous and Xseed Games announced survival action game Deadcraft will launch on PS4 and PS5 on May 19th. Klonoa Fantasy Reverie series will launch on PS4 and PS5 on July the 8th. Sonic the Hedgehog game collection Sonic Origins will release on PS4 and PS5 on June 23rd. 16-bit RPG Chained Echoes will launch on PS4 sometime in the fourth quarter of this year. A new Outriders expansion called World Slayer will launch on June 30th. And finally, Gamatsu reported that Electronic Arts and Codemasters announced that F1 2022 will launch on PS4 and PS5 on July the 1st. Pre-orders are available now on the PlayStation Store. And that is all for the news this week. F1 2022 looks kind of cool, actually. And I'll kick it over to Travis now for this week's new games.
See here on the 19th, we have Alien Zix.
Alien Dix.
Alien Zix. Okay. We also have Knighton Plus, which is like LinkedIn, but only for medieval knights looking for new manners to go to. We have the aforementioned Lego Builder's Journey. We have Rainbow and Winter Ember. On April the 20th, Hitler's birthday, we have Liberated Enhanced Edition. Vico 2,
Ironic.
Save the Children.
Also ironic.
Jesus. On the 21st, we have Burger Bistro Story, which I think came out about 11 times. Chernobylite, which is finally fucking out. Dungeons of Shalnor. That's in the basement of Shailene Woodley's house. Is that the girl's name? The actress?
Yeah.
Okay. Galactic Wars X. I Love Food. That's a show. I'm not making a statement or a game.
You don't love food, though, is the thing.
Lamote, the Mastermind Chronicles. Lamote?
Lamote, the Master Mote Chronicles.
Oh, I see that now. Metal Tails Overkill, which sounds awesome. MotoGP 22, which probably isn't great, but if they have the Isle of Man, it's almost worth buying the game because that's like the longest track in the world, and it's just worth the disaster. My Brother Ate My Pudding. Don't Google that. Orbit Industries, Samurai Bringer, and last but not least, Ayo the Clown.
Ayo!
None of that sounds great.
No, none of that does. This is a fucking awful. I mean, not awful, but it's
It's a light week.
Not good. Yeah, it's a very light week of releases. Although one of these is a standout, in my opinion, and that is Lego Builder's Journey. And I will talk more about that here in just a moment. So, Travis, let's start to wrap the show up now, as we always do, by discussing what we've been playing and anything that we're looking forward to. What do you got?
They finally released the cars we need for our platinum trophy on Gran Turismo, but I, of course...
Oh, so this is confirmed? You figured it out?
Yes, but I do not have enough credits, so I'm about 15 million credits short. I could...
What is that in American dollars?
I would need to buy 8 times 20.
Well, if I can't even get you to buy a microphone, you're certainly not going to do that shit.
It's the same price. So, long story short, yeah, they've released the cars. We're golden. If I grind out a couple of races, I can get there eventually. You get like $500,000 a race if you win. But the races are like 30 minutes. And if I do all the missions, I can get some money that way. So I'll probably end up doing all the missions and trying to get gold just to get credits that way. That should pay for 2 of the cars. And then I have to get one more car after that that's worth 9 million, and if it's still there. So yeah, I just have to grind it out. We'll see how I feel if I actually do it. The other one, which is just 50 races online, I'll get there eventually. I did race online. There's some issues with the balance of powers are all goofy on the game right now, and they're trying to fix that before they get into the actual ranked seasons, because the one race season we're having now is just kind of a walkthrough, but they want to fix some other issues before that. Kazunori said he wants to fix the snap overseer before he fixes the balance of power. And I've experienced that, and it is shocking when it happens. It happens. I can't decide if it's a glitch or if it's like a game design issue. I'm not sure. It doesn't feel like a glitch because it's just like, it's almost like you're just driving and then the car's like, I'm gonna go left, and you can't. There's nothing you can do. Like, literally, it's like hitting ice in real life. Like, you're just, okay, nothing works. So hopefully they fix that. 'Cause, it's like, it's not game breaking, but like, if I was about to win a race and that happened, I would frisbee my disc if I had a disc PS5.
Oh, Oh yeah.
But anyway,
Oh yeah.
I raced this week. I saved the video. There's some really weird stuff that happened. Like I've got, I don't really know how to show it yet. I can't really decide how to edit it, but I got like, I literally moved out of the way on the straight because I saw a guy coming and he just fucking destroyed a guy in front of me. And I just, and then a lap later, I saw it happening again and I just moved out of the way and the same thing happened. So it's like, just stuff like that, and there's some weird penalties on there too, where like a guy spun off the course and he rejoined in the middle of the racing line right after a turn where I'm doing 150 and I can't move, and I just like destroyed him. It gave me
Like it spawned him there?
no, like
Like respawned his car, or he came
yeah, he
back
just
on the
came back
track
on the
there?
track. So like it'll ghost you, but
Oh.
like the way the timing worked out was when he pulled back out on the track, the computer decided he didn't need to be a ghost anymore, and I'm like 2 feet from him. Like I nothing I can
Uh,
do, and, of course, it gave me a penalty even though if we were at a real racetrack, they would've, like, literally black flagged him and made him park the car for doing that, but, no, it's still fun. It's just, it's like, they're gonna have growing pains with these games. They always do on racing games, but it's fine. Then we played some Chivalry 2 with the new update, and, they have a lot of awesome aesthetic stuff they've added, cosmetics that are pretty cool. The first game we joined when I originally spawned, I just jumped straight into the game and I spawned with a shovel and ran across the bridge and knocked a guy in the head and got a kill. Then I got bolted in the face and I was like, perfect, we're back. This is chivalry. And like 30 seconds in, it's back in the full swing. So I played on shuffle mode actually for my weapons. Did some work with the longbow. That was a lot of fun. I used the massive longsword, which when we were playing the game a lot more in the past, I like really was cooking trying to unlock that thing. It has so much reach. It's so much fun. And then if you time like when you're sprinting and you hit triangle, if you time that right with the huge longsword, it is a fucking world beater. But if you time it wrong, they'll just turn around and kill you because you're like stammering around without stamina and you can't block. I will say that I was definitely a lot better defensively. Like, I don't know if I was more cautious than I was in the past, if the break kinda gave me a little more caution because I wasn't really sure of myself, but I was a lot better at defending and, like, kind of, dodging and blocking and whatever it's called, where you, like, parry and all that fun stuff. I was doing a lot better with that part of it, and I was getting more damage, but not actually killing them. And then they would combo me and kill me. So I'm definitely better defensively than I was before at the game, but it's still a blast. I think I hit a guy in the head with some horse shit. So I mean, we're back full steam ahead. So it was a blast.
yeah, I loved it. I had missed it. It had been a while since I'd played it. We definitely should play some more this week when we get a chance. But yeah, I also played Chivalry 2. Obviously, we played together. I played on shuffle mode, played with all the various weapons and classes, and there's just something so awesome about that game. It's just such a good game. It's intense and it takes skill and it's hilarious all at the same time. And then it like doesn't really matter if you're doing bad because you do something like chop a guy's head off and then everything's instantly better. It's just
Right.
hilarious. And so fantastic game. 10 out of 10 game. And then I did play some more Crusader Kings 3 this week. Put up another episode in my series on YouTube actually, and I've got one more ready for next week. I don't remember if I talked about this last week, but I did finally take over Dublin from my shithead nephew, and I'm trying to figure out my next steps of what I want to do. I want to take over the entirety of Ireland, but you have to have claims on the land before you can declare war and things like that. So I'm trying to figure all that out. I did marry some more people. Something else interesting happened, but I don't remember what exactly it was now. I'll have to actually watch the YouTube video. But I feel like someone betrayed me or something like that, or somebody died. Anyway, yeah, it's a great game, and if you're just curious about it, it is a game I feel like you can watch. It's a game I feel like you might, depending on what games you like, you might enjoy watching someone play it more than playing it yourself.
Mhm.
Does that make sense? So it really strikes me as one of those games. Also played some FIFA 22 this week. After I played eFootball 22 last week, it inspired me when I wanted to go back and play some FIFA. So played a little bit of that with my Bradford City franchise. Nothing too crazy. I played some more Ascent with John last weekend. We did a couple of main story quests with that. Still a really awesome game. Still really impressed with how it looks on the PlayStation 5. I played a lot this week. I played some WWE 2K22 the other day and had a fucking blast. I'm still playing in my faction. I played a match with The Undertaker, which was a slog, but so then I mixed it up and I played my next match with Rey Mysterio, who is like a quicker, kind of like high flyer type of wrestler. And I fucking
Uh-huh.
destroyed whoever I wrestled. I beat him in like 3.5 minutes. I was just fucking whipping their ass. So I have a video from my matches with Rey Mysterio and The Undertaker that I'm going to put on YouTube this week as well. And you guys can check that out. But that game is, I can't even, I don't understand what it is about it. It's just fun. And then the last thing I played was Lego Builder's Journey. This is another $20 game that I built, that I bought. You see what I'm thinking about? That I bought on a whim, like that Nobody Saves the World game last week. But unlike Nobody Saves the World, this was not a waste of $20. This is a very this is a very worthwhile experience. I've played like the first part of it so far. It's just like a really like zenned out, calm. I would call it like a puzzle diorama Lego building game. It's very
Mm.
neat. It looks really good on PS5. It's something where you can kind of turn your brain off, but kind of use it at the same time. Very relaxing. And I really enjoy kind of like the minimalist art style of it. It has a creative mode where you can like build your own stuff or whatever in the little dioramas, but I haven't dabbled in that yet, but I will eventually, I'm sure. So anyway, yeah, I think that's well worth $20. Uh, buy that instead of Nobody Saves the World. It's my advice. So that's it for the show this week. That's all we've got. If you guys enjoyed it, again, don't forget to subscribe so that you never miss an episode. We'll get delivered to you every Monday. Also, if you would rate us or review us on your podcast service, leave us some stars, thumbs up, hearts, whatever. We'd very much appreciate that. You can also find us on social media to give us your feedback directly. You can find us on Twitter at the DualSense Pod, Instagram and Facebook, and also our blog, which is the DualSensePodcast.wordpress.com. And of course, as I mentioned, you find us on YouTube, the DualSense Podcast, where we share our episodes there as well as gameplay videos. And you can see what we've been up to. So we'll get out of here now. You guys take care. Have a great week, and we will talk at you next time. Bye bye.